Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. The seemingly inevitable finally happened, with Ernesto Valverde being sacked by Barcelona. Despite his success on paper, big Champions League losses, a lackluster style of play, and strange tactics led to his dismissal. And if you want to see a more detailed video on what went tactically wrong for him, drop a comment down below. But in today's video, we take a look at Valverde's replacement, Quique Setien, and assess what he can bring to the club. And when assessing Setien's style of play, statistics will be used, and a good place to get stats for teams and players is our video sponsor, OneFootball. It's a great free app available through the link in the description for Android and iOS. This video will examine Setien's achievements and playing philosophy, his evolving tactics, potential tactical weaknesses he might bring to the team, before looking at how he could line Barcelona up. In many ways, Setien represents a direct contrast to Ernesto Valverde. Valverde was a very cautious, pragmatic manager who favoured a 4-4-2 and was more concerned about getting and protecting the lead rather than playing expansive football, the exact opposite of the Barcelona DNA. And although it is Setien who never played for the club, his coaching philosophy brings the Barcelona DNA to the fore. He's an avid admirer of Johan Cruyff, so naturally he falls into the school of juego de posesión, or positional play, emphasizing possession, positioning, and pressing. But his positional style of play is also informed by his love of chess, as he sees several parallels between the two. And although he's yet to win silverware, at his last two clubs, Las Palmas and Real Betis, he has performed admirably. He arrived at Las Palmas with them in the relegation zone, and through his experimental style, he led them to safety in 11th. At Betis, he did even better than maintain league status, leading them to a 6th place finish and a place in the Europa League in his first season. He is a man who stuck by his playing principles at both clubs, although his tactical flexibility meant that he used several formations at each club. But for the tactical breakdown, his Las Palmas is famed for his 4-2-3-1, whilst his Betis is most commonly associated with the 3-4-1-2, so we'll use these as templates. Let's start with Las Palmas. His possession-heavy style is shown by him immediately having some of the highest possession in the league and short passes per game. In addition, they have amongst the highest opposition passes per defensive action, showing their desire to form pressing chains, so let's take a look at how they build up. The first thing to note is Setien's preference for attacking down the center of the pitch, as shown by his teams having amongst the highest percentage of central attacks in each of his recent managerial seasons. But the center is often the most heavily guarded area, and Setien knows it can only be opened up through width or verticality. So, when building up from deep, when under less pressure, he opts for width to open up the center. The centre-backs split, allowing the defensive midfielder to drop in between them, and the fullbacks can push higher up, as the keeper looks to find one of the defensive players. One of the reasons for dropping into a 3 is to try and open up space in the midfield by drawing the opposition midfielder into a press. The midfield, fullbacks and wingers are then intrinsically linked. The attacking midfielder can drop to assist the build-up play in the double pivot and create another passing option, which then allows the fullbacks to push even higher up, providing width whilst the wingers tuck in further. This is useful as the wingers tab the centre-backs and the fullbacks from here, leaving their fullbacks free, and commonly they will be picked up, which then frees more space in the centre of the pitch. But if the single pivot remains, the fullbacks can stay in the second line in space to offer a wide outlet to relieve the pressure, and subsequently combine down and attack down the flanks, which we will look at shortly. Or they can use a one up, one down philosophy with one fullback advancing and the other tucking into the midfield. But when under pressure, he uses verticality to open up the center. The centre-backs split wide to the width of the 18 area, their depth drawing a high press, whilst the pivot provides the extra option. Again, note the importance of the pivot to his style of play, as he brings the extra man into the press. The fullbacks do push high, with wingers tucking in and helping to push the defense further backwards. This then allows the clipped ball into the space created in midfield. When now higher up the pitch, his chess principles are also shown in his positional play. By strategically positioning and moving the team up the pitch, it means that even when the ball is lost, they are in a good position to defend. Setien's team are patient, never looking to force the play, and can often be seen using their U to try and open up spaces. In addition, they often pass the ball back to try and open up spaces. The midfield are then coached to move into spaces on the defender's blind side, i.e. the side they're not looking, where they can then look to progress the ball forwards. We'll look at chance creation and defending when assessing the back three formation, as there is a lot of overlap. At Betis, again he used several formations. However, after some defensive struggles, he shifted to a 3-4-1-2 to give them more numbers during the defense. Again, Setien prefers to attack down the center, but still, this doesn't mean that he's averse to wide attack. In fact, he relishes them, and the back three formation aids this. Instead of fullbacks, the wingbacks can be much more offensive. Again, a principle of positional play is to create numerical overloads near the ball. So with one less midfielder, the onus is on one of the wide centre-backs to join the play in midfield. In most cases, it was Marc Bartra who'd push higher up into the midfield half space. So, if the midfield is well stocked and an overload can't be created in a horizontal zone, they instead create one in a vertical zone. The fullback pushes high, allowing one of the forwards to move into this region to support the fullback. The central midfielder can move into a similar region, thus allowing them to create a diamond from which they can easily keep possession. From here, it's all about movement to create space, with the third man run being crucial. For example, the fullback can play into the central midfielder, who finds the forward, who can return it to the now unmarked fullback. In addition, the deepest, widest man has to be comfortable overlapping and underlapping, depending on the movements of the man ahead of them. And in addition, by moving their team to one side and creating a side overload, it sucks the opposition in, which then frees a switch to the wingback. Either way, from these wide regions, they look to attack the byline and whip in a hard and accurate cutback towards the forwards. Defensively, Setien is a proponent of the high press, aided by the positional play. This is shown by them having amongst the lowest passes per defensive action in the league. By keeping so many men in close proximity when attacking, it means that if there is a quick turnover, they're in a good position to collapse around the ball and counter-press. The same principles apply when in a set defensive shape. The team pushes up with a high line to compress the opposition, and wait for a press trigger such as a poor pass, targeted opponent, or a horizontal pass to the fullbacks to allow them to cut off one side of the pitch. But generally around the pitch, they are more man-oriented in their press, looking to win their individual battles rather than aiming to cut off the passing lanes. But every tactical plan has its weakness, so what are Quique Setien's? Well, as we spoke about, in the build-up, Setien prefers his team to be patient, shifting the ball horizontally and backwards to try and create gaps in the opposition. But this is one of the reasons he struggles against low block teams, which he'll almost always face now as the Barcelona manager. When teams hold their deep shape and refuse to engage, he struggles to find a solution, as shown by being one of the teams which spends the most time in the middle third. In addition, despite having some of the highest position in the league consistently, their shots per game are middling at best, struggling to turn possession into goal threat. As a result, they take a high quantity of shots outside the box in low XG areas. And with Setien's refusal to alter his style, it's not hard to imagine fans being frustrated with constant sideways passing instead of looking for goal. That being said, if any player can fix his central penetration problem, it would be Messi. Another potential problem is his high defensive line. Especially due to their need to overload the center and push up the fullbacks, massive gaps are left behind the fullbacks in transition, which the opposition can flood into. Teams could potentially look to take advantage of this, especially with Piqué aging. As a result, Setien's team concede their fair share of counter-attack goals. In addition, the fact that he opts for a man-oriented press could be a problem in the Champions League, where he'll face craftier teams who will use this man-marking against him to open up gaps in the defense. Setien is an intelligent manager, and it'll be interesting to see how he looks to counteract this. So how could we see him line up? A back three would be interesting, allowing Alba high on the left with the defender to cover behind him. Messi would seek to dominate the center, and Suarez and Griezmann could both start. However, the aging Busquets in the center could be a weak link in a two-man midfield. In addition, it doesn't really fall into the Barcelona philosophy of the 4-3-3. He could potentially use his Las Palmas 4-2-3-1 with Messi at attacking midfield or on the right, but the host of attacking players could be a defensive liability. So if he does stick with the Barca 4-3-3, he would love the prospects of a Busquets, Arthur and De Jong midfield, who are capable of holding on to possession at will. Messi would drift central, but this could detract from the wide overloads that Setien loves. On an aside, Junior Firpo excelled at Betis under Setien, so maybe he'll see increased game time. But how do you think Setien will do? Anything I missed? And don't forget to drop a comment if you want to see a Valverde tactical breakdown. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.